Yeah. Okay, we are progressing in our recording. Okay, I'm gonna just lay it out for you. We have where there's 21, 22, 23, 24 left. 21 is gonna fly by because it's just city names. 22 is a little bit of drama. And then 23 is Yehoshua giving his swan song farewell speech. And then 24 is the end. A little bit of a longer perek. So within a few weeks, we're going to actually be completing Yehoshua, which is why I wrote in the email today to start, voicing your opinions. It helps if everybody has a different opinion, that we have no idea what to do. But if we have some sort of consensus about what we want to do next, because I know some people are kind of like laying back because they don't love this study, which I get. It's not for everybody. So if we have other ideas, or you'll just let me pick. You know what I would love to do, by the way, which I know sounds nuts. I would love to do halacha. I'd love to do Jewish law, but it's a totally different, very text-based, totally different limud. But I don't know if people like that more or less, but I love to teach halacha. But or if we went through topics or something, if it's like, oh, and sometimes people don't like to do halacha because they don't really want to know. It's okay. Well, so when people ask me a question, I go, "Are you asking me?" Because it makes it different. You're asking, like, So anyway, but things out there. We don't have to stick just to Mikra, whatever. People love the Parsha, so I don't know, whatever. I'm at your disposal. So chapter 21. The last thing, so we did the cities of refuge. So now we have the cities of the Leviim. By the way, the cities of refuge, which also were run by the Leviim, it seems. So Vayikshu Roshei Avos HaLeviim El Elazar HaKohen Ve'el Yehoshua Ben Nun Ve'el Roshei Avos HaMatos Lefnei Yisrael. So now the heads of the families, they came to Elazar and to Yehoshua Ben Nun. Again, these are the two, the political leader and the spiritual leader. It's the Moshe and Aaron of this generation. Elazar is Aaron's son. Yehoshua is Moshe's disciple. And they go to Roshei Avos HaMatos Bnei Israel and the heads of each tribe. So the heads of the Leviim went to the heads of the political spiritual leadership and the heads of each tribe. Vaydabru alehem b'Shilo b'Eretz Canaan lemor Hashem tziva b'yad Moshe l'seslanu arim l'sheves u'migrishehem livehemtenu. They said, and they approached in Shiloh. Shiloh now is representing the center of Jewish life in Israel. That's where the Mishkan is set up, and it stays there for 369 years until it moves around a couple places until the Beis HaMikdash. But the majority of it is in Shiloh. They mentioned if anybody ever goes to Shiloh, or if you don't want to go, you can look at it online. You can take a tour of the Mishkan online. Highly recommend doing that if you're, instead of doom scrolling at night. You should do that. Do a tour of the Shiloh Mishkan. You could do it at your own pace. It's really very, very cool. Anyway, so they say Hashem commanded through Moshe to give us cities to inhabit, and also a migrash. They also had the surrounding space for their animals, for their stuff, whatever. So it's found in the end of Sefer Vayikra in Bahar in Bechukosai. In that area over there, we have the stories of what was given to the Leviim, and then the wording that's given there, and that we have here also is that, since the Leviim did not have a portion in the land of Israel per se, they didn't have an ancestral chelek, division of the land like we saw in the chapters leading up to this. And also, we kind of needed to take Levi out of the mix so we can get to the 12 tribes. Right? Because if you take Levi out, and then you divide Yosef into two, Ephraim and Manasseh, that's how we always keep this magical number of 12. We always have to have 12. So if you take one out, you have to have an addition. So the addition is Yosef is not his own tribe, it's Ephraim and Manasseh. So they said, look, that was the deal. And by the way, this is following the pattern of what we've seen. And we're going to see in the next chapter as well with the 2.5 tribes. Oh, you promised you were going to do this. Moshe said this. Now it's time. Let's make it happen. So this is what happened. So the children of Israel gave the Leviim from their heritage, according to the word of Hashem, these cities in their open spaces. So every tribe or every specific area had to give based on this divine distribution, whatever you want to call it. But they had to give. Okay, you had I don't know if you call it a tax, but it was they. Oh, wait till you hear this. They levied. Yeah, that's good, right? I wonder if that's where it comes from. They had to give part of, maybe I wonder. We're gonna have to.
An I though, not a Y.
We're gonna have to Google that up. Yeah, but Levi with Y. No, it's not Levi. Levite, it's Levite, because it's real, it's Levite. I bet you it's, if only William Sapphire was still around, I could ask him. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's my story and I'm sticking with it. You good? Okay, good. We're good. That's what they did. So we know the Leviim. This is important to know that there are three main families of the Leviim: Gershon, Kahas, and Merari. And they each had different tasks in the Mishkan. One was the singers, one was the carriers, the schleppers, and one was the leadership. It's a great trivia question. Also, there were two brothers from the same parents. One was a Kohen, one was a Levi. How is that possible?
I never thought of that.
One was a Kohen, one was a Levi.
One was born before the decree.
What decree?
The kill the firstborn. Aaron was born before, and then Moshe was born when they snuck him, basically.
Well, it is Moshe and Aaron. Moshe's a Levi, and only a Levi, and Aaron is a Kohen, and only a Kohen. Moshe is not a Kohen, right? And the same parents, because he had to start somewhere. When did so that's when the Kohanim became the Kohanim with Aaron, but when did the Kohanim complete the line of Kohanim? Like, when is a Kohen always a Kohen? So that's with Pinchas. The story of Pinchas and Parshas Pinchas, which we read in the summer, after the incident of Zimri ben Salu and that terrible public depravity display that took place, and Pinchas did what he did. That's the origin of shish kebab. Okay, that's a little too much. But that story of Pinchas, and it says because he was zealous on behalf of God's mitzvos, for God's sake. So it says he gets bris kihunas olam. He has the eternal covenant of being a Kohen, right? So your duly elected rabbi is a Kohen because of his great-great-grandfather, because of Pinchas, and that's what happened, right? Okay. Your rabbi's a Kohen, right? You didn't know that? You didn't know that? Wow. See that? Yeah, Rabbi Proops is a Kohen. To me, I always wonder how a Kohen goes into the rabbinate. It's like occupational hazard, but there have been a number of great rabbis. Like Rabbi Riskin is a Kohen. Rabbi Clapperman, remember Rabbi Clapperman from the Five Towns? Rabbi Clapperman is a Kohen. I mean, hospitals is challenging. It's not so easy. It's an occupational hazard, really. Okay. Anyway, that's Kohen Levi. So the first one we have the family of Kahas. Vayitze girl mishpachas he vayhilib b'nei Aaron kohen min halavim matei Yudah matei Shimoni matei Binyamin v'girl Arish Loshas. Right. So they took from Yehuda, Shimon, Binyamin, 13 cities. Ulivnei Kahas hanosarim mishchos matei Ephraim matei Dan mechatzi matei Menashe b'garim Arim Aser. And then the remaining sons of Kahas from the families of Ephraim, they took from Dan, half the tribe of Menashe by lottery, 10 cities. And I imagine it's the main part of Dan, not the extended part that we saw last week that was stuck up north because they had to conquer. They needed some more room. So we have Kahas. Then comes Gershon. Ulivnei Gershon. Mimishpros matei Yisachar matei Asher matei Naphtali mechatzi matei Menashe b'Basham Garol Arim Shlosh Esrei. Ulivnei Merari lemishpechosam matei Ruvain matei Gad matei Zvulun Arim Shtei Esrei. Shtei Esrei. So I'm flying through 6 and 7 to the sons of Gershon. We have they came from Yisachar, they came from Asher, they came from Naphtali, half of Menashe and Bashan by lottery, 13 cities. And then finally, Merari, right? It's Gershon, Kahas, and Merari. That's usually, but they're listed in different orders at different times. At this point, Kahas, Gershon, Merari. Livnei Merari, Lemishpachasam, Matei Revim, Matei Gad, Matei Zvulun, Arim Shtei Mesrei. Vayitunu b'nei Yisrael, Lalevim Eser Ma'elav Esmi Geshem Kasher Tiva Hashem B'yad Moshe B'Garol. So Merari they gave according to their families. They came from Ruvain. They came from Gad. So some were actually in the Transjordan as well. So the tribe of Zvulun, 12 cities, and they gave these cities and their open spaces to Leviim, just like Hashem had commanded through Moshe by a lottery. Now we have something for the Kohanim also. We can't leave the Kohanim out. We take care of the Leviim. We got to take care of the Kohanim. Right? It's funny. Usually in our lives today, Kohanim always go first in everything. when you have benching, the Kohen goes first. When we have laning, the Kohen goes first. When you have anything, the Kohen goes first, right? So one of the best bits that we have here ever, by the way. So you see this stender right here. There's I could show it on the screen a little bit, but you see this is our base medrash, and it's just tables and chairs, but there's one stender right here. Okay, this one's standing right here, and with one sitter on it. So that stender actually belonged to Murray Pantier. And when they sold the house, so they had like all this stuff, so they gave it to me. But now it gets used by Saul Eckstein. So Saul Eckstein, who's a Cohen, Saul Eckstein, the Holocaust survivor, he's in, we don't know how old he is exactly, depending on what day you ask him and who you ask in the family. He's 90, he's 95, he's 96, whatever it is. And it's one of the best bits that we have in the whole shul. By the way, there's a great shidduch was made, is that my brother, who lives in West Orange, every single day goes and picks up Saul at his house. He lives, like down Route 10 that way, and he drives him to shul. So he picks him up at, 6:20 in the morning. He drives him to shul, drives him back. And they have like, it's a shidduch made in heaven. They love each other. It's great. But it's such a great thing for him to come to shul every day. It like gives him such chiyus. But he's a Kohen. So he gets at least 4 aliyahs a week, because we don't have a Levi usually at the morning minyan. And if there's no Levi, the halacha is that the Kohen gets Kohen. And then if there's a Levi, say, oh, bimkom Levi. Now, it doesn't work the other way around for anybody else. So he gets more aliyahs in a week than I get in a whole year. I can't even get an aliyah in Simchas Torah. That's my lot in life. So only a Kohen could do 2. A Levi cannot. And then, by the way, and anybody who's a Levi, I'm sorry, Mimi, but that people think, oh, if there's no Kohen, the Levi has to go first. That is not true. Which, if we were to learn a halacha shiur, we would learn things like this. But maybe we could learn stuff that doesn't really apply to anybody. Like, correct.
We have this in shul. Someone accidentally gave a Levi who was doing Haftarah a Levi aliyah, and that he couldn't do his maftir aliyah.
Oh, but there you could do is you could just give it to somebody else and they could just read the Haftarah. Right. No. So you could if it's like that.
Of course, that's the question, because it was weird.
Oh, no. So in that instance, you can give Haftarah. You can give it to anybody.
No, so the Haftarah was being read by a Levi. He was like assigned.
Okay, but then the actual aliyah could go to anybody.
So the aliyah went to the.
Okay, didn't have to, but it can go. Maybe it was a special Haftarah. Maybe, but it doesn't. That can go to anybody. Yeah. Because that's one of the things, like when you have a Kohen can get maftir. Once you finish the first 7, then by the way, you could even make an extra aliyah at the end. Let's say you want to make an acharon, you can make an 8th aliyah before maftir that you can give to a Kohen also.
Kohen can't replace.
It's not mean replace. It's not replacing. It's not. If it's in the regular order of the first 7, then once you call Kohen Levi Yisrael, that's it. You can't call unless you have nobody else. Unless you have a minyan of exactly 10 people, and yet say you have 3 Kohanim and you have 3 Leviim. The halacha actually discusses a case where you have a city that's full only Kohanim. If you have only Kohanim, this is a wild halacha, just to show you how exciting halacha could be. I'm just putting it out there. It's a teaser of sorts. If you have a minyan and there are 9 Kohanim and 1 Yisrael, who gets the first aliyah? What?
כנראה ישראל, if you ask.
The Israel gets the first aliyah. That's awesome. He's got to feel like $1 million. All these Kohanim, nothing, and I get the first aliyah. But so that in other words, you have to ask yourself the question: why is it that we don't call? Let's say we have a Kohen. Why can't you call another Kohen after that? You ever wonder that? Like, why not? We have a lot of Kohanim. We have like call Mr. Eckstein and then call call his son-in-law. His son-in-law was also Kohen. Goldie. Why not? So the Gemara tells us is that if you call a Kohen after a Kohen, it's funny. Sometimes we worry about what people think. Sometimes we don't care what people think. If they see another Kohen being called, they're gonna be like, oh, must be there was something wrong with the first Kohen. He's not really a Kohen, or he did something wrong. So therefore we want to get it right. Wild, right? Wild. So that's why we do it. It's better. So when we have no Levi, it's better to call the same Kohen twice and not another Kohen. That's the way it works. Anyway, so we have to take here the Kohanim go last in terms of this distribution. So ויתנו ממטה בני יהודה ומטה בני שומרון 10 מעילה אשר כרסם בשם ויתנו בני אהרון ממשכוס הכהסי בני לוי כי להם היה הגורל ראשונה. So then, again, I'm in verse 9, they gave from Yehuda, Shimon, to the sons of Aaron from Kahas, the family of the children of Levi, because those are Kohanim, okay? What did they give them? Now that we know what we gave them, we have to say what the names of the cities are. Vaitnu lehem es Kiryat Arba, Aviha Anoki, Chevron, Bahar Yehuda, Ves Migrasheh, Sivivoseha. So they gave Kiryat Arba, which of course is Chevron, which the father of the giants, which is in the Har Yehuda and the open space around it. But if you remember, we talked about Kalev inheriting the area. So actually, Kalev splits the area of Hebron with the Kohanim. Kalev gets the field and the cities and that. So if you go to Hebron and its outlying areas, which is in a mountainous area, it's in a very hilly area, that of course belonged to Kalev and of course to the Kohanim. Now, Ulivnei Aaron Kohen, what about the sons of Aaron? Verse 13. Nasnu es ir miklad harotzeach ves Chevron ves migrashah ves livna ves migrashah. They gave the city of refuge for killers, again, because remember the killer goes free from the ir miklat, from the city of refuge, when the Kohen Gadol dies. So I guess he should have been local, at least in one of them. We know there were 6 who are real ir miklat, and the others could serve as well, but 6 main ir miklat. And they would give Yatir Migrasheh Eshtemoa Es Migrasheha, and they would have Yatir, and they would have Eshtemoa. Yatir, there's a Yatir winery. You ever see that? It's a very good wine, excellent. There's no shortage of best wines in Israel, by the way. I had a whole for our trip, and I'm still like knee deep in the itinerary. I had to like withhold something like we're not going to go to every single winery in Israel because I could do just a winery tour. It'd be great. Remember that movie Sideways? Oh, it's one of the great actors of the guy from Billions. He's so good. Paul Giamatti, great. You want to know it's a great movie that he did that nobody has seen? This is stuff you're not going to get in the regular. I'm just telling you. I know this is going to be recorded and be watched by dozens of people, most of whom are my mother. If you like singing, Paul Giamatti years ago did a movie called Duets. You would like this. You appreciate music. Right, so Duets is actually and it profiles the circuit of people who do competitive karaoke. I kid you not. It's got it. It's a great. How long ago?
Yeah, how long ago?
15 years ago, maybe a while ago. But great cast, by the way. Gwyneth Paltrow is in it.
I'm trying to get a sense of like.
The guy, you know who's in it? Andre Brower. The guy, he just died. He was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the big guy. He was in that movie. If you like singing and if you like good harmony, which I happen to like both, Gwyneth Paltrow is in it, and she does a duet, and the person who plays her father in the movie is Huey Lewis. Like Huey Lewis and the News.
Song from it.
Huey Lewis. So they sing a song by Smokey Robinson called Groovin'. Groove with me, baby. Maybe we could have a family showing. I don't know, maybe. But it's Paul Giamatti, and he plays this guy who's in this corporate world, and he gets burnt out. Really, I think you can get it on iTunes for like $2. That's to show you but I think it's underscored about how good it was because there's so many good singing parts in it. Anyway, you're not getting this anywhere else. I'm just telling you right now, you're not getting this valuable information of how to waste your time further.
So where's the Yatir winery?
The Yatir winery is right.
So right in.
Yeah, I think it's right near there. Yeah, in the Judean hills. Yes, because they had the notable the red seal on it. So you have Yatir, Eshtemoa, Cholon, Devir. I don't know if this is Cholon, Ayin, and Yehuda, Beit Shemesh, 9 cities from these 2 tribes, and then 17 Umimate Binyamin. Es Givon ves Migrasheh, es Geva ves Migrasheha, es Anasil ves Migrasheh, es Amon ves Migrasheh, Arim Arba, Kol Arim Bnei Aaron Akodim Shloshes Arim Migrashehem. From Binyamin, again, Binyamin is right north of Yerushalayim. You have Givon, you have Geva on into open spaces. By the way, if you go in a place, if you leave Yerushalayim on the north side, when you head into like the fun areas, so like past Givat Zev, Piskat Zev, on the road right there, the first city that you hit, once you hit like separated roads and everything, is a place called Geva Binyamin. It's known colloquially today, it's known as Adam. Adam, and it's really very much, it's the first city you have like really in the Shtachim. The inhabitants are largely secular Jews, which is interesting because people always associate the, West Bank fanatics or settlers, but the truth is that there's a huge percentage of secular Jews that live in the Shtachim, and for one simple reason: affordability. That's the only reason, not for idealistic reasons. Affordability. If you go to a place called, for instance, Alfei Menashe, I think I spoke about it a few weeks ago. Alfei Menashe is very secular also, but it's right smack, right. You look out and you can see Tulkarm in front of you, and like nobody wants to go there, but it's affordable. That's why people go there. So that's Geva Binyamin but I don't know why it's called Adam, but it is. Really a beautiful neighborhood. And they had, so the cities of the sons of Aaron, there were 13 cities in their open spaces. Okay, if anybody's keeping count. Verse 20. And to the families of the sons of Kahas of Levi, those that are left from the sons of Kahas, the cities of the lottery from the tribe of Ephraim. So they gave the city of refuge, the Ir Miklat, was Shechem, as we discussed, the open spaces in Mount Ephraim, Gezer, and those open spaces, Kivtzayim, and Beit Choron. Okay, really 4 cities. This is, again,
This is also a lottery
yeah,
and designated cities for the lottery.
correct.
Okay.
And they each had to figure out what part they were giving up.
Designated by.
So this is part of the divine. That's why it was in Shiloh, and it was with Elazar and Yeshua and the Rosh Hashanah, and everybody had to notice that's the lottery how it was given, and it was based on population and desirability, things like that. That's how they figured it out. Now, again, the end of the chapter is just going to be a lot more of these cities. So, hold on. 23. Umlatei Dan ves El Tekei ves Migrasheh ves Gibton ves Migrasheh. From the Dan, you have El Tekei, the open spaces, Gibton in the open spaces, Ayalon es Migrasheh ves Gat Rimon es Migrasheh, Arim Arba, the Ayalon, maybe they got the Ayalon Highway, I don't know. Gat Rimon, everybody was having a conniption because they saw this. There was this beautiful picture this week of the 3 towers in Tel Aviv, but everyone saw this. It had like the hats, but it was AI. Everybody thought it was real.
And
They're going for, oh my God, how'd they do that? Like, it's basically what you can do with computers. If you haven't seen the picture, you'll look it up. You'll see what I'm talking about. Umachatzis, after you watch the movie duets. Umachatzi. Es Tanach es Migroshe es Gat Rimon es Migroshe Arim Shtayim. From the half of Menashe, they took Tanach. Gat Rimon, 2 cities, and then there were 10 cities for the remaining families for the sons of Kahas. 26, 27. Golan Babashan Migrasheh, Ashtara as Migrasheha, Arim Shtayim. So Golan Babashan, which we know, which is already listed in Bamidbar, that's in the Transjordan part. And they had 2 cities, and one of them is Be'ashtara. And then from Matei Yisachar, Kishon Migrasheh, the Ras Migrasheha, Yarmut Migrasheha, Ain Ganim Migrasheha, Arim Arba. And then from the tribe of Yisachar, they had Kishon, Dobrat, Yarmut, and Ganim. And then from Asher, we had Mishal Migrasheha, Avdon Migrasheha, Chelkat Migrasheha, Rechov Migrasheha, Arim Arba. Then from Asher, they would have these spaces. They had 4 cities. Naphtali, they had Ir Miklat, Arotzech as Kedesh Bagalil, which we know. And Migrasheha Chamos Dor, Ves Migrasheha, Karta Migrasheha, Arim Shalosh. I'm going quickly, obviously, because this is just names of spaces. They had 13 cities in their open spaces. Now from Merari, Yoknaam, which is high tech. Karta Migroshe, Dimna, and Nahalal, and they had 4 cities. And then from Gad, we had Ir Miklat at Ramot Bagilad, which we know, Machanayim, Cheshbon, Ya'azer, or they had 4. Kol ha'arim, we're coming to the end of this chapter. Kol ha'arim livnei merelim mishpachosam hanosim mishpachos Leviim v'yigrolim amar b'shnei mesrei. All of the cities of the Leviim, within the position of, and this is the important thing you have to know. After saying who got what from where, and then what the names of the cities were, we have to know that there were 48 cities of the Leviim. which, and the Gemara tells us they could also serve as cities of refuge aside from the 6. Okay, every kol arei b'soch achuzas b'nei Yisrael arim armei shmona migrashehem tiyena ha'arim ha'ela ir u'migrashes yivoseh kein l'chol ha'arim ha'ela. Every single one of these cities will give in with the open. Each one will have the open spaces around it. So not only did they have a place to live, but they had a place for their stuff, or for their animals, for their flocks, etc. I guess the Leviim, while the original Levi, he was a shepherd, right? Moshe loved the sheep. Vayitain Hashem liYisrael es kol haaretz asher nishba la'ases la'avasam vayirashua vayishuva. So now, this is a very important pasuk, because we took care of the tribes. First, we did the biggies. We did Yehuda, we did Yosef, we did Binyamin. Then we did the rest of the tribes, the other remaining 7, because remember, 2.5 on the other side. They come last because that's not part of Israel. And then we had the Leviim. We had the Ir Miklat, the Leviim, the family of the Kohanim. And then we have this beautiful pasuk. Hashem gave to Israel es kol haaretz asher nishba la'ases la'avasam, the entirety of the land which he promised to their forefathers. Vayirashuha, and they inherited it. Vayeshuva, and they lived in it. If you've been following by Pinei Halacha, this is exactly what we've been doing the last couple of days. It's really uplifting. Vayanach Hashem lahem misaviv kechol asher nishba la'avasam, v'lo amad ish b'fneihem mikol avihem es kol avihem nasan Hashem yadam. So Hashem granted them rest from all around, according to all he had sworn to their forefathers. No man from among their enemies stood before them. Hashem delivered all their enemies into their hands. By the way, this is a really great biblical allusion here. It's coming up. You know that this Friday and Shabbos is Rosh Chodesh Adar Aleph, right? Which means that we have an extra month until you get to Purim, an extra month to get to the you know what. But here, I'm already thinking about Esther, the book. Where is the? In the end of the story, you know, when you finish the the big reveal, and then all of a sudden it's like the book gets really boring because you're like, could you just finish already? I'm hungry. Although this year you're not going to have that because the Megillah reading is Saturday night. We haven't had that in a long time. Saturday, and it's late, but it's after the clock change. So Megillah reading starts we're starting, I think scheduled at 8:10. 8:10 Megillah reading after Shabbos. Woo! But we have just have to find the pasuk because it's not those. Here, so in the beginning of the 9th chapter, it says this is the closure of the story, which we're right now here in our closure of the story. So the reveal is made. They defeated their enemies. They're about to hang the 10 sons of Haman. Pasuk says the Jews organized themselves in their cities and all the provinces of Achashverosh to send forth their hand against those who sought their hurt, and no man could stand before them. Now, what's interesting also is that we have actually a Greek sieve. It's Ish lo amad lifnehem, and then we say Ish lo amad bifnehem, and then we read it again. We say Ish lo amad lifnehem. Look at this pasuk here. Velo amad ish bifnehem. It's the same thing. Mikol ovehem, from their enemies. So it might be like a prelude to much later on, but now they're settling in the land of Israel. And if you take that pasuk and if you look at the story of the Megillah, and I have actually a classmate of mine wrote a remarkable book on the book of Esther. I have a classmate of mine. He became a very successful venture capitalist in Israel. His name is Michael Eisenberg. And he wrote a book about Megillah Esther, how the entire book is just not parody, but it's just one big mocking of the Jews, that they think that the gullus, that the exile is their capital and their center of life, when really it should be Israel. There's only one. One of the words that occurs over and over in the Megillah is Shushan Habira, Habira. The word Bira only appears one other time in Tanakh, and that is referring to Yerushalayim. So the fact is, it's one big mocking criticism of the Jewish people, thinking, "Oh, you're so successful." By the way, which is talking to us as well. And the whole idea is that you have to be in the real center of Judaism, which is there. So here, now they're in Israel, and no one stood in front of you. So it's the same thing there. Oh, now they conquered their enemies in Persia, and you think that you're all set. So here it is: Ish lo amad v'lo amad ish b'fnehem mikol vehem, and lo nafal davar mikol davar atov asher dibar Hashem el bnei Yisrael hakol ba. It's just a beautiful pasuk. Yeah, what? Well, we have nafal in other in it's like ki nafal pachad mordechai lehem or ki nafal pachdam al kol ha'amim. But here it says lo nafal davar mikol davar hatov. Nothing of all. Now nafal means here they translate it as lacking. It means nothing fell. In other words, nothing was left out. Everything, and so what's represented here in this end of this like seemingly innocuous pasuk or a few psukim, which is why you have to get through all the technicalities and the names and the places and the numbers, is to say that first of all, Hashem gave the entire land of Israel like he promised. And nobody bothered them. And nothing of all the good things which Hashem spoke to the house of Israel was lacking. Everything came to pass. And in other words, here's your testimony right here in front of your eyes, that everything that we started talking about since chapter 15 in Bereshis, with the bris bein habesarim, and Hashem said, and you're going to go to be in a land that's not yours 400 years, you're going to go, and then you're going to have your offspring going to be many, and here we are. We're seeing it happen. It took how many years? A lot of time. Even from the Exodus, it takes 40 years in the desert, another 14 years of kibush v'chiluk, 14 years of conquering and dividing. So we're talking about quite a bit of time. Who's going to stay around? Because everything in Tanakh and everything in Judaism, we have to take a macro lens to it. We can't just look only at the immediate. We have to say, oh, look at the whole story. The whole story is that Hashem did exactly what he was promised, which is meant to tell us today, when we worry about things, we'll be okay. I know it's hard to see, it's hard to feel it, but Hashem promised us the entirety of the land of Israel, and we're living in a magical time where you could argue the majority of the Jews in the world live in the land of Israel, something we haven't seen in a very, very, very long time, right? And especially after having, such a huge percentage of our population decimated in World War II and murdered, and now building that back up and saying that we have this, that's why now you can understand, by the way, why people get messianic. You can understand why people get this sort of fervor of like, oh my God, we're living in such an amazing time. But we have a time where we could produce our own things. We could defend ourselves. That's the old the notion that we're so powerful. We're not used to being Jews of power. We have a certain type of power here in this country. We control Hollywood, we control the banks, we control the media. So, I mean, why not? But I'm saying in Israel to say, we have our own land, like, leave us alone. Like, you guys have like all that, you have all your migrashayim. You have countries and countries worth of God knows what. Leave us alone. But that's our lot in life. Okay, we understand that. And that's why it's going to be okay. And that's why when you hear, and it's the most incredible thing ever. I've spoken to many parents of soldiers who've given their lives to the state of Israel, and the way they speak with such emunah, never with anger, always with pride. Like, we get to live here, we get to be in this period of history, and the cost is so great, it's so high, it's so much. But when you look at the bigger picture, Hashem didn't leave out a single thing from what he promised. You could end the book of Yeshua right here, by the way. You could. We have a couple loose ends. So the next thing we have to tie up is the 2.5 tribes, in which, by the way, the deal was that the 2.5 tribes, you're going to fight, you're going to help them get, and then only then you could settle in the Transjordan and do what you want. We looked at it. It's worth looking at how Moshe handled it at the outset and what happens here, and they actually do something that provokes the rest of the nation, thinking they almost go to civil war because of a provoking incident. And then we have Yehoshua's goodbye, and then the end of the book of Yeshua, and then we think about what's next. But it's really, really interesting. So once you muddle through all the numbers and places and locations and tribes and names, we get to these few psukim, it's worth it just to read these 3 psukim at the end. Really absolutely beautiful. So we should one day we'll all be there. And if it'll compliment, listen to the parts that I've been doing lately on Pnei Allah are all about Israel. And it's just really like I every time I finish teaching it, I'm thinking like I'm such a moron, like what am I doing here? But that's a whole other story. Anyway, I'm a moron for a lot of reasons. I can't even get an Aliyah Simchas Torah. Have a good. I hope you stay warm in Florida. I mean, I hope you.
Yeah. I hope you stay warm in Livingston.
I
I'll
hope
be
you
back.
manage.
I'll be back soon. A few more
Great.
weeks.
Have a good day.
You too. You will.
תודה רבה.